Hey everyone, it's Cassie, and today I'm going to be painting a flower, so grab your paintbrushes and let's get started. I'm working on Arch's cold pressed watercolor paper, and I've stamped a flower and some leaves from the Simon Says Stamp Look for Rainbow stamp set using Ink on 3 Fade Out ink. I'll have links for these products down below, as well as a list of all the paint colors that I'll be using today. You'll see me switching paintbrushes a lot today, but this dark-handled paintbrush will always be water. We're going to start by choosing one petal and painting that in with clean water. You want a nice sheen on your paper, but no puddles. For my pink, I'm going to be using Rhodonite Genuine from Daniel Smith. After loading up my brush, I'm gently tapping it to the edge of the wet petal. I'm not moving the color around much with the brush, I'm letting the water do the work for me. I want the inner portion of my petal to be white, but I still need to add the shadows. So I'm using Antica Green Earth from Stoneground Paint Co. to add in my shadows to the center of the petal. I'm keeping my touch light and not adding too much paint. I don't want to lose the white of the petal, but I'm adding some form to the base of the petal. I kept this first petal real time so you could see what I was doing and how long it normally takes me. However, I will speed this up so you don't get bored watching me paint. I'm repeating the same process with each petal, but I'm making sure that I never work next to another damp petal. When you have a petal that has part of the petal folded over, I treat the folded over edge as a separate petal. So I'm painting around it right now, and I'll paint the back side of the petal in a few minutes. When the first layer is dry, I go in with my second layer. I'm using Rhodonite Genuine again to add in some shadows where I want folds and creases to be. I'm dropping in a little bit of color, then I'm softening the edge of that color with some clean water. If you get a little carried away with your color and add too much like I did here, go ahead and add a little bit of water and then dab it with a clean paper towel. To deepen my shadows and further define the form of the petals, I'm using some Moonglow by Daniel Smith. Building your shadows up slowly will ensure that you don't lose the white of your flower. After putting in some Moonglow, I'm going over the area with a little bit of water to soften the edge, just like I did with the Rhodonite layer. I'm also going to add a little bit more Rhodonite over top of the Moonglow on the pink parts of the petal to make sure they read as pink instead of purple. To add more dimension to the flower, I'm not just tracing the outline of the stamp. I'm thinking about where shadows would fall. So where this one petal is curled up away from the bottom petals, there'll be a bigger shadow than where the petals sit right on top of each other. At this point, I'm kind of jumping around a lot, but I'm just going through and adding in more contrast wherever it's needed so you can really see the shape of each of the petals. Here I should have let the flower dry, but I didn't because I was filming. I just pushed forward. You'll see why it's a problem in a minute, but I'm just adding some clean water to the center of the flower, then painting in some lemon ochre from Stoneground Paint Co. While it's still wet, I will tap in some raw umber by Daniel Smith. Using a dotting motion, while the dots will bleed together, this will help add texture. I'm focusing mainly on the outside edge of the center of the flower. Here you can see why you always let things dry. My paint is starting to run into some of the wet petals, so I'm having to dab that off with a paper towel. While that's drying, we're going to go ahead and start on the leaves. I am putting down a layer of clear water again. Then I'm going to add some green earth by Schmincke. I'm going to fill the whole leaf in with the green earth, keeping the darkest concentration of color where I want my shadows to eventually be. While this is still wet, I'll add in some shadows using Undersea green by Daniel Smith. Similar to how I added the pink to the petals, I'm just kind of adding it to the edges and letting the water move it. I'm also going to add just a little dot or two of the Rhodonite up in the highlights of the leaf, and then I'll blend that with the green earth. I don't want the petal to look pink, I just want a little bit of reflected pink light in the petals. It helps tie the whole thing together. Now that the center of my flower has dried, I'm dotting in more of the lemon ochre and some of the raw umber. I'm doing this in dots. I'm not covering the whole thing, just dotting it in. This again helps build the texture of the center. And I'm again keeping my darkest colors along the edge of that center to define it. Now that the first layer on our leaves is dry, I'm going back in with the Undersea green to add in the details. So I'm adding in the stem as well as the center vein, and I'm just pulling it up, and then I'll soften that edge with a little bit of clean water. I'm also using the Undersea green to add in some shadows. Moving back to the center of the flower, I'm adding in some more raw umber dots. I'm also going to add in some dots with some Moonglow. This will help deepen the shadows. I'm just using the very tip of my paintbrush to dot in little dots of color. Because the paper is dry at this point, those dots should retain their shape, giving some really nice texture to the center of our flower. And that wraps it up for our painting today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up and leave me a comment. Let me know what you want to see next. If you're looking for more inspiration, go ahead and check me out on Instagram and follow me there. The link will be in the description below. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.